Hey everybody, it's Jimmy and Bill. So today what we're talking about is an article that was in Fortune. And I'll post the original article below, but it's kind of a crazy subject in my opinion. Basically, condos in Florida, I think it's going to be the end of condos as we know it. And everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about, the end of condos? It sounds so stupid. But with everything going on, and we're going to read this article and we're going to talk about it, I really think that buying a condo is kind of stupid right now, if this information is correct. And I'm noticing, okay, a lot of buildings, and I'm still doing condo inspections, don't get me wrong.
Right.
You know, but a lot of out-of-staters coming in with some big money and everything. But man, I see some buildings, and I'm trying to look up the listing for that particular condo, and I have to weed through 20 or 30 listings in
There's
the
a
same
lot.
building.
Yeah. Yep. There's been a lot of listings for condos, which we're going to go into why, but the listings have definitely gone up recently.
I know, and you know, I had a condo. I sold it a few years ago, and now I heard about that building. You know, they're doing a special assessment, and we're going to talk about that too, because their special assessment wasn't that bad. Well, for some people it might be bad. It's
Right.
$8,000.
Compared to some of these, especially the condos on the beach side, for us, some of these assessments have been ridiculous. Crazy
Right.
amounts of money.
Hey, do me a favor. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out, and it motivates us to make more videos. Just being straight with you guys. All right. So, why don't you read the first paragraph of that, you know, and we'll talk about it.
All right. Hurricanes and homeowners associations have cooled Florida's hot condo market. Condo homeowners have been forced to lower their listing prices to offload their properties, going against the national trend of rising condo prices, a report from Redfin published this past Monday. So it's true. So the absorption rate, so pre-COVID, you know, the absorption rate on condos was pretty low. They would typically sit a little bit longer. Then because of the short housing volume that we had, we didn't have a lot, you know, the market was so hot, we didn't have enough houses. People started going to condos, which then drove the condo prices through the roof. They got crazy.
They did.
They went from, I mean, some of them almost doubled.
Yeah, especially in Miami, in that area.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Yep.
I follow that.
Yeah, some of them almost doubled. Even some of them here in our area, you know, like in Sand Key, Clearwater Beach, you know, area. So now we're back here. Prices are up, but we have a lot of other issues with the HOA, which we're going to kind of start touching on here.
All right, so let me read this, okay, because we talked about that a little bit. Condo prices in Jacksonville dropped nearly 7% year over year, while Miami's decreased almost 3%. Meanwhile, the average U.S. condo list price are up over 8% according to Redfin. So you see, Florida's the one who's getting hit,
Right.
because a lot of it has to do with the insurance stuff and the special assessment. And
Right.
And we're going to get more and more into that part of it too. So let me,
So this is kind of where we start getting into that.
right. The major culprit, climbing costs associated with owning a condo in Florida, namely surging because of insurance and HOA costs. In the aftermath of the collapse of Champlain Towers, you know, the Champlain, the Towers South Condominium and Surfside experts say, which is true. A lot of stuff went because of Surfside.
Right, so once they had the tragedy of Surfside, and not getting into all of that, but now there's new rules put into place when it comes to assessments because of re-inspections, structural inspections, the requirements now for reserves for major repairs.
Well, it happened in 2021, and the beachfront condo building collapsed and killed 98 people. So, of course, you know,
Of course.
they're going to really change the rules, and they change the rules fast, but it's affecting everybody, especially in older buildings.
Right, so the new rule affects any building 3 stories and up. And then there's, I think, a year cutoff on that, an age requirement in there. It might be in later in the article, but this is requiring structural inspections, engineering reports, and things like that. And those things cost money. And
Right.
then on top of it, if you don't have money set aside, the HOA doesn't have the money set aside to do major structural repairs or just general repairs of larger ticket items, roofs, elevators, obviously there's going to be, there's deterioration. Everybody gets a little crack here and there, which is not a big deal if you handle it correctly, typically. But those things cost money.
Yeah, but now everybody's gonna be overcautious, especially the engineers doing
Oh, of
the
course.
inspections, because they don't want to pass something and then, God forbid, something happens and it collapses or something.
Right.
And then the people are gonna be like, well, you said it was okay and it was safe. So they're gonna be uber. If they see some corrosion on some
Right.
support beams, they're gonna be like, nope, it has to be gone.
Right. And some of the condos that I've sold over the last couple of years, I've noticed it doesn't have to necessarily be a structural support beam. It's just in general, because everything kind of ties together. So they're definitely on top of those things.
Yeah, but a lot of people, on fixed income can't afford these special, and we're gonna talk about that
Yeah,
too.
and I just try not to get too far ahead.
So you wanna,
So 2 events happened recently that affected Florida housing market. Obviously, Hurricane Ian in 2022 and the Champlain Surfside Tower collapse that we have already mentioned back in 2021. It says Craig Studinsky, founder CEO of South Florida luxury real estate firm ISG World. In reaction to the hurricane, flood insurance rates went up. So
they did. Now there are a lot of people requiring flood insurance, and they're like, oh, I'm on the 10th floor of this condo building, they want me to get flood insurance.
right.
And like we always say, well, if you get flooded on the 10th floor of a condo building, we got
big problems.
We got bigger problems.
Exactly. But on top of that, not only the independent unit insurance going up, because realistically, buildings typically have a master plan for your insurance. So that's what the HOA is paying for, and that's what really went up. So that's added to the cost for the HOAs and the condo associations
Yeah,
as well.
and then they have to get insurance for their personal stuff inside the condo.
Right, from the drywall in.
Yeah, drywall
Inward. So your insurance rates are a little bit lower typically when it comes to your unit itself, but the building's insurance went up dramatically in most of the buildings that I've been to.
Now the state of Florida requires all condos have adequate reserves for replacement, meaning that the condo association must have enough money reserves to replace structures, take a roof's lifespan, for example, which is about 25 years. If the estimated replacement cost of the roof is $2 million, the association must collect $80,000 annually to accumulate the replacement cost by the end of the 25-year period, according to insurance firm CRC Group. True.
It is, and there's different levels. So one thing that he mentioned here, it's a typical 25-year roof lifespan. Now, there are different types of roofs, and they do have different lifespans. So when you're talking commercial roofing, not residential roofs where they're like the flat built up, those could have 50, year lifespans, especially if they're maintained.
Yeah, if they have modified bitumen on there and
Right.
stuff, gravel, some of them,
Right, and they maintain the gravel and they do the maintenance that they're needing to have done. It extends the life of
But they have to collect X amount of dollars
Right.
per year to make sure they have it in reserve. So when that time comes,
Yeah, because you don't know when the time is going to come necessarily. It's the law of averages. So you got to make sure you have that reserve, and that's where the assessments are coming in.
yeah, needing the cash on hand makes HOA fees higher and more properties out of reach for home buyers. Realtors are not selling properties well. They're not selling, which is true, they're not really selling well. The single-family home market sales are not affected as much, although flood insurance has doubled or even tripled in South Florida because of its unique, situation over there
Right.
and inventory. Huge demand. So condos are really being affected. Yeah, condos, I mean, a lot of who buys a condo? A person who buys a condo is out-of-staters, snowbirds, because they can just close the door.
Close the
right?
door. Yeah, it's super convenient if you're gonna travel. You know, it does make life a lot easier.
If you don't want to take care of maintenance stuff.
You don't have to mow the lawn. You don't have to worry about anything. You turn your water off. You've got a maintenance person that's typically on staff at the building for the bigger buildings, neighbors, so on and so forth. So it's much easier, you know, roll down your shutters and off you go, lock your doors.
Okay, Bill, why and where are condos prices falling?
Okay, so according to the article, Jacksonville, Miami, and Orlando condos have seen the most significant price drop during the past year, according to Redfin's data. Jacksonville condo homeowners slashed prices 6.5%. Miami prices dropped 2.5%, and Orlando's prices fell nearly 5%. I don't know if I would say that 6% or 2% is a slash.
That's not drastic.
No, I mean, 6% is a little more of a push, but 2%, $600,000 condo, $12,000, I don't see as a slash by my definition, but okay. So we lost 2%. Now let's take that into perspective real quick.
All right.
So if you gained 50% and you lost 2%,
Maybe you lost 10%.
maybe you lost 20%.
You're still up.
You're still up.
Depending on when you bought it, unless you bought it a few months ago.
Right, but at the end of the day, if you had your condo and you gained 50% and you only lost 2% or 6.5%, you're still up. So I know that's always a big comment, but let's go into this a little bit more.
All right, go.
Meanwhile, single family homes are faring better, meaning that their prices have actually increased. In Miami, for example, the median sale price of a single family home increased by double digits year over year. Sales rose by 9%, and new listings also shot up 13%, according to Redfin's data.
Yeah, Miami, I'm telling you, and I already thought, and we're gonna do a video on this.
Uh-huh.
I already thought, people would slow down moving to Florida, but people in New York, New Jersey, California,
No.
Connecticut.
The governor was just on a press conference today, literally talking about the amount of people moving to Florida. Still.
And these stats, and the whole thing is, I got a stat sheet, and they're going by people who changed their driver's license.
Right.
So it's not even, like estimates. So like, yeah, they'll say, 10,268 people moved here. And where's the data from? From DMV.
DMV, they get a driver's license here. So, and that doesn't even take into consideration some of the people who just bought here to buy here. And then they just stay here for a few months at a time.
Well, we're gonna do a video on that. So guys, check that out. Go ahead.
All right, so condo sales, on the other hand, are slow because the cost of both buying and owning a condo has surged, which it really has. Homeowners insurance in Florida increased about 40% year over year in 2023, and a whopping 102% during the past 3 years, according to the Insurance Information Institute. So that makes sense. Like you said, condos, insurance have gone up, both for the condo association and for the owners. Homeowners insurance has gone up for homeowners. Everything is just up. And I think because of the new regulations, obviously condos are really feeling that hit a lot more, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that, just on a side note, me and Tanya, we were trying to buy a condo in New Hampshire, and they don't have condos there?
Really?
Not really. They have a few here and there, but they didn't really have, like, over here. Everything's a condo here.
Yeah, there are a lot of condos. But, let's look at it. Like, condos, typically, if I went to a condo, even, let's say, a beach condo, for the most part, the people there are predominantly of retirement age, or they're snowbirding back and forth. But they're typically in the retirement age because they don't have to worry about multi-story, they don't have to worry about cleaning things, fixing things. There's a maintenance guy there, typically you just come in and fix it and you're done.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit smaller. They've downsized.
Yeah.
They've taken their home, they've sold it, and then they put it into the condo on the beach. I mean, who wouldn't want to live on the beach? I mean, I want to live on the beach. Florida insurance costs 3 times the national average.
Oh shit. Oops. Beep.
Beep. Which clocks in at $1,759 per year for $250,000 according to bank rate. While HOA fees can vary greatly from building to building, the costs can be shocking. Juan Castro, a real estate agent in Orlando, told Redfin. In some cases, condos that once had a $400 monthly maintenance fee may now have a $700 fee, which is causing buyers to rethink their plans. Buyers and sellers, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame because, you know, these fees are going up. Our fees have gone up in our HOA. Friends and family members' HOA fees have gone up to cover some shortfalls. Building materials have gone up, you know. So you're not necessarily, you know, when we're talking HOA stuff, prices do vary. So see what your value is, you know.
Yeah.
Before you really start,
You know, now
looking at HOAs.
Look at some listings, and now it's a benefit if you're like, people actually promote, this is not an HOA.
right?
No deed restrictions.
No deed restrictions.
You know, so it's a big benefit, you know?
Right. Real estate investor Ilana Nunez Cooper says that condos don't typically have a cap on HOA fees, and many people can buy a single family home for less than what most luxury condos cost, not even including HOA fees.
I'm not a realtor, but I think that's true.
That makes sense, 100%.
Especially the luxury condos. Look at
Yeah.
the condos in Clearwater Beach.
Oh, it's
I
insane.
expected some of them. They're like, oh, I'm getting a good deal on this. It's like 1,100 square feet, 950 grand,
Yeah.
$1,000 a month HOA fees.
Yep.
I'm like,
You know.
really?
Well, you know, in some of those luxuries, they've got the doorman, you know, they've got the concierge downstairs. So you got to look at what they cover. But at the end of the day, $1,000 is still $1,000 of reoccurring expense.
At the end of the day, it's
Period.
costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars so you can look at water. And I'm not saying it's not nice to look at the water, but you know, after a while, it becomes like, okay, is it worth it?
Just depends on, I guess, your viewpoint and whether or not you could pay your condo off and you still have your property taxes and your HOA fees to pay every month. Plus, they're going to go up.
All right, I'm going to make a statement, and this is going to be like, a lot of people won't agree with this, but I think a lot of those condo buildings, not all of them, but a lot of them, all those people that are paying all those high fees and insurance rates are just glorified renters. That's all I think they are. They don't have control. They can't do a lot of the stuff. Yes, they own it, but with the fees they're paying, they're glorified renters. That's all they are. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but HOAs, okay, do the flip of the coin. You know, you go to some communities that have single family homes and they've got single family homes and you're paying a high HOA. So is it kind of the same thing?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't like HOAs. I live in an HOA, but my HOA is kind of hands off and they take care of a tree, I think. You know?
Right, like my HOA, you know, they take care of the grass, our trees, our shrubs, bushes, paint, roofs. It's just
No, I'm
in our little
for the
thing.
whole association. My
Yeah.
whole association. I think they take care of a couple of palm trees.
Right.
You know, so.
But that's what I'm saying. Every HOA is a little different as to
Yeah.
what they cover and what they don't cover. It just depends on what your deed restrictions and covenants are. You know, because not every, like we have one HOA, but the different subdivisions in our community have different coverages. They range.
All right, let's continue.
The increased expenses paired with economic uncertainties like inflation and potential interest rate hikes are prompting potential buyers to exercise caution. Matt Dunbar, Senior Vice President of the Southeast Region for Churchill Mortgage, tells Fortune. As a result, the higher financial burden associated with condos is leading buyers to explore other housing options that may offer more financial benefits and fewer ongoing expenses.
Yeah, so basically, I agree with that 100%. The reason why is, it's just, they're getting it, for what you're getting, it's just way too much. There's no end. there's no cap that the HOAs,
Right.
you know, there is no cap. They could be like, hey, you know, everybody that works for the building, we're giving you guys 100% raise in fees, 100% raise. And if nobody shows up to the meetings and votes, and they have
Right.
a little click and they vote that in, boom, you're getting a special assessment, you're getting a bill in the mail, and your HOA fee is going up.
Right. So if you are in an HOA or a condo association, not saying you have to be super active, but at least make sure, because they have to mail you as well, make sure you're reading your mail and that you're paying attention to what's going on, because this is how some of these things get passed.
And I'm at fault too. When I had a condo and I was a snowbird, I got that in the mail. I didn't
Yeah.
look at it. It's like, yeah, whatever. What is it going up? $20? Okay. But now it's different. Now it's
Right.
going up 800, $1,000.
Right. A friend of mine's just went up $80 a month in his
Yeah.
HOA, you know, and it's like $80 a month. That's a big, not $80 a year, because that was like when I questioned him, like, $80 a year, you're all bent? And he goes, no, $80 a month. And I was like, holy smokes, you know, and he's got a relatively large, that when you do the math, that's a chunk of change to the association.
Listen, at the end of the day, you know, my opinion is if you're buying a condo, see how old the building is, see what the reserves are, see if there's any special assessments coming up.
And make sure on the special assessments that you ask if there are any, that they've ever discussed special assessments in the past year at least, and tabled it, because sometimes they'll table it until the next year. So make sure that you ask for that information when you're purchasing.
In my opinion, if you're paying a lot of money for the condo, think about buying a house, and then you could hire a company like a home watch company, and they'll check on the home for you.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you might have a whole house that's cheaper, and you have more space, more freedom, and everything. But that's my
Right.
opinion.
And there's good maintenance companies out there that do your lawn, and will, you know,
Yeah.
you may pay a little bit more of a premium for them to really take care of your stuff, but it's worth it in the long run because it's a lot cheaper typically.
Yeah. Anyways, that's today's video. If you could do me a favor, really helps out the channel, subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. And watch the next video, which is over here. I think you guys will like that one.
Right here.
Right here or right here? It's somewhere. You'll see it right now. Talk to you in the next one. Bye.
See you. Thanks for watching.